Good morning, actually, good afternoon, guys. Hey, I'm losing track of the time today. So, good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to another masterclass webinar with me, Andre Hinkson. For those who don't know who I'm from the Caribbean, from a small island called Barbados, but now I'm living in Rome. At the moment, I am the Director of Studies at Mayes Bisolati in Rome, and I'm here today to help you to improve your skills with a masterclass. And today we're looking at household situations. So there have been many situations that we would have had, or scenarios that we would uh, witness in our everyday lives, whether at home or whether at work. But today we're looking at household scenarios and situations using colloquial language and looking at vocabulary as well. So vocabulary to talk about jobs around the house, make versus do, and colloquial expressions. Those are our objectives for today's webinar. So I hope everyone is doing well. Remember, when you enter the broadcast, please tell me your name and where you're from. And cool, we can probably have a good conversation together and improve your English as well. So let's begin. So let's look at vocabulary, part A. So we're looking at the American dream versus reality. Now, a lot of people, I know a lot of immigrants would have left their country to go to the United States, in America, to pursue the American dream. The American dream, what is the American dream? Well, some people believe that the American dream is having a wonderful and fantastic career or job, living the dream of being, wealthy, of having a good job, of having a good family, a good place to live. And over the years, of course, that dream has changed because of the changes in society, changes in how the world works. So a lot of those dreams have kind of changed per se. But the traditional American dream is what you see in a picture right here on the right-hand side. So we've got a good family, a grandmother, grandfather, mother and father, and children, grandchildren, sitting on a table ready to eat maybe a Thanksgiving dinner. So it's like the typical American dream, having a family, a good job, a good career, and a good place to live as well. So let's look at the American dream versus what is the reality. So number one, let's look at this one. What is the stereotypical American dream family like? So as I mentioned before, started this question, basically the American dream, the stereotypical American dream is what you see in the picture. Good job, good house with a family, a good place to live, beautiful surroundings. It's usually what a lot of people are after. Hey, Alicia, welcome again. How are you? Cool. Welcome once again. So today we're looking at household situations, and at this moment we're looking at the American dream versus what really is going on. What is the reality? So the stereotypical American dream family is what you see: mother and father, or grandfather and grandmother. And normally the grandfather or the grandmother as immigrants would have fled their own country. I know there have been a lot of Italians who would have immigrated to the United States, create a family, and of course provide for that family as well. So that's like one of the stereotypical families for the American dream, in relation to the American dream. Yeah, so that's my opinion about the American dream. Now let's look at number two. What is family life like in the 21st century in reality? So Alicia, for you, what is the family life like in reality in these days now? Is it the same as the American dream family? Yeah, grandfather, grandmother, father, wife, father and mother, children, grandchildren. Is it the same today as it was back then? I know in my country, things have changed, especially in the Caribbean. The makeup of the family has changed. It's no longer the stereotypical family like mother and father and children, and it's more gearing towards or leaning towards a single parent family household. So you find a lot of women are single mothers, meaning they're taking care of their children without the father. Or in some situations, the father is taking care of the children. So it's a single father who's taking care of his children. So a lot has changed from many years ago now in the 21st century. It's more of you find a lot of single parents raising families. So it has changed quite a bit. Or in some cases, you have maybe not necessarily a married couple, but maybe your mother has a boyfriend, but you're not married. By the end of the day, she takes care of the children. So it's a lot different from what it was back then. There are still some examples of the stereotypical family, but more so today, we have a lot of single parents and different ways of having families as well. You have technology that has changed the way that family life is now in reality, in terms of, I mean, there no longer has to be sexual relations between a man and a woman to have a child. Now you can adopt children, you can do fertilization in vitro. You have many different technological techniques that you can have children as well. So in relation to technology and having children, that has also changed. In a traditional sense, you have your mother, you have the father, they come together, they have children. But today, it's not necessarily to have a partner or a husband or a wife to have children. And of course, the type of families have changed as well. You have couples, you have gay couples having children as well. So the dynamics of the American dream has changed in relation to family as well. Exactly, Alicia. Numerous families, for example, are disappearing. They are disappearing. The traditional families are disappearing. And now you're having many different forms of family as well. Even some children don't have a family. They don't have a mother or father. Some of them are in a foster care service, or maybe they're adopted, So there are many different changes that have taken place in relation to the family compared to then and now. Cool. So in that case, a lot has changed in relation to the makeup of the family. Yeah. Let's look at chores now. So let's look at what are chores. Alicia, can you tell me what are chores? Any idea about what chores are? I'm sure growing up, you would have had a lot of chores. As a child, your mother, your father would have made you do chores. I think chores is a very American word, a very American way of expressing this particular activity. So Alicia says, I'd say there are more independent together families. Okay, you're still talking about families. Yeah, I agree. There are more independent families. More so, I would say more so in the sense that not necessarily depending on grandmother and grandfather to take care of children, but normally a lot of families now, especially mothers and fathers, they take care of their own children, or in some cases, single parents, they take care of their own children. They don't have a grandmother or grandfather or aunt or uncle to take care of the children as well. So Alicia says chores are the things you have to do, the tasks. Exactly. So chores are tasks that you have to do at home. It could be many types of chores as well. So what do these mean? So to take out the trash, yes, to take out the trash is a chore. And this is a very American phrase, to take out the trash. So in America, they use this phrase. Maybe in the UK, they say take out the rubbish. Yeah, they take out the rubbish. Rubbish for the British and trash for American. So we've got rubbish, which is more UK, and we have trash, which is American. Yeah. So to take out the trash or to take out the rubbish is to take the garbage, yeah, and put it into the bin. Yeah, so that's taking out the trash or the rubbish. Cool. So let's look at some more chores. We've got to put the rubbish out. Okay, there's a British the British form. So they can say to take the rubbish out or to put the rubbish out. It varies, depends on the country. So the rubbish would be British and trash would be American. Good. Now to put the kettle on. To put the kettle on. What do you think it is? Is it British or is it American, Alicia? To put the kettle on. We normally use it in the Caribbean as well, in my country. We use this particular phrase. Oh, put the kettle on for me. Put it on. Yeah, it's very British. It's very, very British. To put the kettle on, mainly British. Um, uh, maybe in America, they do say something similar as well, maybe the same thing. Or maybe they say to turn on the kettle. Turn on the kettle. Yeah, like turn on the kettle, which basically means to boil water for tea or for coffee or whatever it is. Yeah, to make some tea, exactly, Alicia. Now, to sweep up. What does to sweep up mean? To sweep up. This is another household chore. To sweep up. I'm sure you know this one. To sweep up. So we've got to take the rubbish out or to take out the trash, which means to take the garbage and put it outside in the bin. We've got to put the kettle on, which means to boil some water for tea. And then we've got to sweep up. It's another chore. Okay, if you don't know what to sweep up means, it means to clean. Yeah, exactly, Alicia. To clean with a broom, to sweep up. Or not only necessarily with the broom, but to clean in general. I'll sweep up. I'll clean up. Yeah. So those are some phrases, some colloquial phrases that we use when talking about chores. So to put out the trash, to put the rubbish out, to put the kettle on, oops, sorry. And of course, to sweep up means to clean up. It doesn't always have to be sweeping with a broom, but to clean in general. Yeah. Excellent, cool. So let's look at these two verbs. We've got make and do. Now, of course, sometimes these verbs are associated with particular actions. So we've got some particular activities here. We've got coffee, an appointment, homework, the dishes, your job, a mistake, a suggestion, your hair, a task, the washing up, an exam, the housework, your chores, the laundry, the ironing, and the breakfast. Oops, clicked on it too much. We've got these particular activities, and now we're going to match them with the correct verb. Is it make or is it do? So, Alicia, let's look at coffee. So, what verb would you associate with coffee? Make or do? Do we make coffee or do we do coffee? So this one can be a little tricky for some people, especially Italians, whether to use make or whether to use do. They're very similar, but they represent different things. So let's say I never choose the right one. Make and do are my name. That's what I know. That's what I mean. A lot of Italians have difficulty with make and to do. So normally we make coffee. Excellent. So here, when we're using make, we're looking basically at creating something. So for coffee, you have to make coffee. You have to put the coffee grounds, you have to add the water, you have to add the sugar, the milk. So it's creating something. So to make is to create or make something. While to do something is just the action of the action, to do something. For example, with exercising, you do exercises. It's an activity, it's an action. You don't create the exercise, you do the exercise. So that's the difference between make and do. So in this case, we make coffee because we have to put different ingredients together to create the coffee. So we make coffee. Excellent. So let's look at an appointment. An appointment. Would you use make or do? So you call the school, call minor school, and you say, okay, I would like to an appointment for 3rd of May. Yeah? What verb would you use, make or do? So you got the first one right, Alicia. What about an appointment? Hmm. Do an appointment? Not quite. Not quite. I can see why you would use do because you think of it as an action. But we usually associate appointment with make. You make an appointment. So you create an appointment in this sense. So it was no longer there, and now you've created a specific time, a specific place, an appointment, a schedule in order to maybe do something, a meeting or whatever. So in this case, you make an appointment, you create an appointment. Yeah? Like when you go on your computer and you go on your schedule, you put in information. So you're creating an activity, basically. You're creating a meeting. So in that case, you're making an appointment on your schedule for that meeting. So in this case, it's make an appointment. Yeah. Good. Now let's look at homework. Is it make homework or is it do homework? Gianni. So Alicia was correct. Very good. Gianni, welcome once again. It's make an appointment and not do an appointment. So Alicia was right. What about homework? Yeah, Gianni, we do homework. So it's an action. We complete it, we do it. Well, in the other hand, for example, for a teacher, maybe you create homework or you make homework for the student because you're creating the activities for the student to complete. But as a student, you are doing homework or you do homework. So it's an action, an activity. Excellent. What about the dishes? Do you make the dishes or do you do the dishes? And remember, the dishes usually means to wash them. You wash the dishes. You clean the dishes. So is it an action or is it a creation? The dishes. Mm. Excellent, Gianni and Alicia. Do the dishes because it's an action, it's an activity. You do the dishes, you wash the dishes. What about a mistake? Do you do a mistake or do you make a mistake? Now, this one can be a little tricky because it's not per se a creation of something, but in English, we normally use a particular verb with this action. So when you're doing your homework and there's an error, you make an error or you make a mistake. Correct, Alicia. So in this case, there's some weird, weird actions that use the verb to make rather than to do. To do a mistake is not commonly used. It's not the correct form. We usually use make. And sometimes there's no particular rule in relation to some activities or actions. We just make a mistake. Good, excellent, very good, guys. What about your job? Do you make your job or do you do your job? Do you make or do you do your job? I forgot job, yeah. I went to mistake, but I forgot job. Do you do your job or do you make your job? Excellent. So Alessia says, do your job. So it's an activity, it's an action. You do your job. You do what is required of you. Now let's look at a suggestion. Do you make a suggestion or you do a suggestion? This one's another exception as well. You make a suggestion or do you do a suggestion? Good, excellent, Gian. You make a suggestion. So in this case, it's not, when you look at it from the point of view that we use make for creating something and do for doing an action, in this case, it doesn't really apply because it's a common phrase that uses make. There's no particular rule for this one. This is another exception. But we always use make a suggestion. Yeah, we make a suggestion. You give someone advice. You make a suggestion. All righty, we've got your hair. Your hair. Do or make? Do your hair or make your hair? So Alessia, in the days, every day, do you do your hair or do you make your hair? Okay, good, excellent. You do your hair. Excellent, very good. You do your hair. Maybe, make would not necessarily be used here, obviously, because it's an action, it's an activity. If you are thinking about a hairstyle, maybe you have a new hairstyle you want to do, you can say create a new hairstyle or create a hairstyle. Yeah. But normally the action is to do your hair. Yeah. You brush it, you comb it, you style it. It's an action. All right. A task. Do you make a task or do you do a task? Do you make a task or do you do a task? So a chore is like a task. So what do we use? Do or do we use make? You do a task. Excellent, because it's an action. It's an activity. It's an action. What about the washing up? Washing up. Make the washing up or do the washing up? This one should be easy too. You do the washing up or do you make the washing up? Do you do the washing up or do you make the washing up? Oh, silly. Good. You do the washing up. Excellent. So it's an action again. You do the washing up. An exam. Do you make an exam or do you do an exam? This one should be simple as well. A couple seconds. Do you do an exam or do you make an exam? Good. You do an exam. Excellent. The housework. Do you make the housework or do you do the housework? This one should be simple too. Basically, housework is chores. Yeah. So in this case, we do the housework because again, it's an action that you're doing. So you do the housework. What about your chores? Do you do or do you make your chores? Yeah, do the housework. Well, what about chores? Do you do or do you make your chores? This one should be another easy one because it's related to housework. So you do your chores. Excellent. Very good. What about the laundry? Do you make the laundry or do the laundry? I know I have to the laundry today. So I have to laundry today. Is it do or does it make? Good. You do the laundry. Excellent. It's another activity. Do you do the ironing or do you make the ironing? The ironing. We can use ironing or we can use pressing. So do you do the ironing or do you press clothes? Or do you do the pressing? Yes, you do the ironing. Excellent. And the final one, this should be easy too. Do you do breakfast or do you make breakfast? Well, some of you might not think it's easy, but you make breakfast. Excellent, Alacia. So make breakfast is that you create different dishes. You have to do the eggs, you have to mix the eggs, you have to fry the eggs, you have to do the toast, you have to do all of those things. So it's a creation of a meal, basically. So we make breakfast. Yeah, excellent. We make lunch. We make dinner. Yeah. You will hear people say, oh, I'm going to do dinner tomorrow. In the Caribbean, we usually use do as well, but it's a cultural thing. We use do. I'm going to do dinner tonight. It's a very Caribbean and Barbadian type of cultural thing, of language. So for us, we use do, but technically it's make breakfast, make dinner, make lunch. Yeah. So sometimes even in America, in the US, they use, oh, I want to do breakfast tomorrow. But in this case, it means they want to go to breakfast. They want to go to a restaurant or they want to go to a cafe to have breakfast. So normally they would say, oh, let's do breakfast tomorrow. It means let's go to the bar, let's go to the cafe, let's go to the restaurant to have breakfast. So in different cultures, it means different things, but grammatically, make is the correct verb to use with breakfast or lunch or dinner. Cool, excellent. So we've got make coffee, make an appointment, do your homework, do the dishes, do your job, make a mistake, make a suggestion, do your hair, do a task, do the washing up, do an exam, do the housework, do your chores, do the laundry, do the ironing, and make breakfast. Excellent. Hope you guys got it. Excellent work. So, not under my roof. This is a very, very popular phrase or expression in English. So let's look at it. So we're going to look at the household situations and bring some appropriate colloquial expressions to use, like the first one, not under my roof. So can you guys tell me, what does not under my roof mean? It's a very popular colloquial expression in English. Not under my roof. Normally we hear particular members of the family using this expression. Do you know what it means? Have any idea? Think about an adult talking to a child. Yeah, maybe you have a daughter or a son, maybe, and this particular phrase you can use with them. So what does it mean? What do you guys think it means? So not under my roof. How dare you? So basically, not under my roof is an expression usually between an adult family member towards a child. Maybe, of course, maybe you live with your mother, or maybe you live with your grandmother or your aunt or uncle, anyone who's superior in your family to you. So Alicia says, when you don't accept a behavior, okay. And Gianni says, the house is not a hotel. I like that expression as well. This house is not a hotel. Cool, that's another expression as well. But excellent, Alicia. So it's when maybe a parent, mother or father, or grandmother, grandfather do not accept a particular type of behavior. For example, your child comes home with a cigarette, or they come home smoking in your house. You say, excuse me, but not under my roof. How dare you? No smoking, not under my roof. Which means basically, do not do this activity in my house. Finished. That's it. So don't do this activity. Do not behave in this way in my house. So normally it's something negative, negative behavior per se. Or my mother, for example, what would I do when I was younger? What did I do? Okay, maybe you bring home a girlfriend, or maybe you bring home a boyfriend in your mother's house, and your mother suspect that maybe some things are going on in your room or whatever. And then she says to you, how dare you bring that girl or boy into my house? Not under my roof. So that's another example of using that expression. So it's usually a mother, father, of authoritative figure in your family that usually tells a child or someone younger who lives in the house not to do this particular behavior or whatever in the house, basically. Okay, so that's one expression down. Let's look at some other expressions. So we've got these household situations, and we have to decide what kind of expressions we can use in these situations. So let's look at the first situation. So we've got a 17-year-old girl is home late. What kind of expression would you use in this sense? So, for example, you're the mother, you're the father, and your 17-year-old child is home late. She comes in at 11 p.m. in the night, and she hasn't said that she was going to be late. You don't know where she went. What expression would you use towards her? For me, I would use not under my roof. How dare you come home late? This can't happen under my roof. That could be one expression. What's another expression we can use? I can think of another one. For example, you're biting off more than you can chew. Exactly, Gianni. Exactly. This house is not a hotel. You can't go and come as you please. Exactly. I would say, of course, you're biting off more than you can chew. So in this sense, you're doing something more to aggravate me. Yeah, you're testing me as a parent. You're testing my how should I say, my patience. Or you can even say, you're testing my patience. Why are you coming home late? Or you can say, there's another expression I can think about as well. Uh, 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 hmm. So we've got not under my roof. This house is not a hotel. I also said you're biting off more than you can chew, which basically means you are testing my patience. You're testing me to see how I would react. You know, Alethea says, "Don't beat around the bush and tell me where you've been." Excellent, very very good. Don't beat around the bush and tell me where you've been. I like that one as well. Cool. Are there any more? Let's see. We've got a couple here. We've got, what time do you call this? What time do you call this? Hmm, This is not the time we decided. Why are you home late? What time do you call this? That's another popular expression as well. Cool. So we've got quite a few different expressions for this situation. It depends on how the parent feels. If they're angry or if they're disappointed or if it doesn't bother them. So it depends on the situation. Excellent work, guys. Let's look at this next scenario. So your housemate makes an unbelievable excuse about why he or she hasn't done his share of the housework or chores. So your housemate makes an unbelievable excuse about why he or she hasn't done his share of the housework. So what expression could we use here? So you want to tell your housemate, come on, you're not doing the housework. You're not doing or helping me to clean the house, to do the chores. You're doing your own thing. You're kind of selfish. What kind of expression would we use for this situation? Any ideas? So I can think of one. You can say to your housemate, hey, you're not pulling your weight. You're not pulling your weight. So you're not pulling, let's see, you're not pulling your weight. Yeah, as another expression for this situation. So you're not pulling your weight, meaning you're not doing your end of the chores. It's not equal, it's not balanced. I am doing all the work while you're not doing anything. So in this case, you're not pulling your weight. Yeah, it's a popular expression we use. You're not doing your end, or you're not, how should I say, you're not pulling, or you're not doing, or there's another expression too. You're not thinking. You're not doing your end of the bargain, or you're not making your end of the bargain. Can't remember the correct expression, but it's basically you've agreed to do certain things. By the end of the day, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. The other person ends up doing the majority of the work. Yeah. Okay, Gianni, are you kidding me? I like that one. Are you kidding me? You're making me stop here and do all the housework. Why are you not pulling your weight? You need to pull your weight. Excellent. Very, very good. So let's continue. Let's look at C. Here's another expression, another situation we can use. Your partner has just bought something very expensive and you're worried about household finances. He or she is being a bit secretive about the price. So they don't want you to know how much the actual item costs, and you believe that they bought something expensive and maybe it wasn't necessary. So what expression would you use here? What do you think you're talking about? In relation to which scenario? Is it B or C? Who do you think you're talking to? Oh, maybe you can use it for A. Maybe the 17-year-old girl is talking back to her mother or being rude You can use that expression. What do you think you're talking about? Maybe, right? Or maybe the housemate does not want to accept that he's not doing the housework. He can say, who do you think you're talking to? You know, I've been doing my housework. I've been pulling my weight. So this one also, your partner has just bought something very expensive and you're worried about household finances. He or she is being a bit secretive about the price. So what expression would we use in this situation? Any ideas? One I can think about is one I mentioned earlier. You can say to your partner that bought the expensive item, oh, you bit off more than you can chew. Remember I used that before for the 17-year-old girl? It means in this case, it means you are putting yourself in a position and the consequences will be, negative. For example, you spent all this money on an object or item, and then you're going to be broke after. You won't have any money. So you're biting off more than you can chew. You're spending more than you have, basically. Yeah. Gianni says, I'm sure that your excuse is that there were extremely interesting discounts. That's not quite an expression, but it can be an answer to the or an interrogation into the excuse or the use of an excuse about spending so much money. But that's not really a colloquial expression. It's just a statement. But I like that one because obviously they saw a lot of discounts and their excuse would be, oh, yeah, there were many discounts, so I wanted to take advantage of those discounts. But generally, you can use the expression in a case where the person spent more money than they had, you bit off more than you can chew, or you're biting off more than you can chew, meaning you're spending more money than you have. Maybe another expression, let's look and see here. Another expression could be, yeah, that must have set you back a bit. So that must have set you back a bit. You got that. Must have set you back a bit. Yeah, which means that you ended up spending more than you wanted to. So it set you back in terms of your finances. So you spent more, you have less finances. So to set back or set you back in this case means to reduce the amount of money that you would have had because you spent a lot of money on that particular item. Yeah. Okay, Alicia says, you're adding fuel to the fire, babe. Oh, I like that. I am sure you would have been in that same situation, Alicia. It seems that way. Yeah, exactly. That's another expression. So you're adding fuel to the fire. You're creating more chaos. We don't have a lot of money. You're creating more problems in terms of our finances. So yeah, I like that one. You're adding fuel to the fire, or you're adding more fuel to the fire. You're making the situation making your situation worse. Yeah, you're compounding the situation. So very good, excellent expressions, guys. I love them. So good, we looked at those expressions. Now we're going to look at part B. We're going to look at answering some of these questions, and then we'll review a bit, and then we'll finish. So let's look at the challenges of living together. And I know there have been a lot of challenges of people living together, whether they're couples, whether they're families. It varies, but of course, everyone has their own challenges living together. Each of us are different personalities, we are individuals, we like different things, we don't like certain things. So our taste, our personality varies. So of course, there will be some challenges. So number one, let's look at this question. What is the main source of contention in families, in your opinion? So what is the main source of contention in families, in your opinion? So in this case, contention means arguments, disagreements. Yeah, that's a source of contention, a source of arguments and disagreements. So, in your opinion, give me one main source of arguments and disagreements in families, in your opinion? For me, I think one of the main sources of contention in families is basically the household chores. I mean, like, who is going to do what? Especially when you have quite a few people living in a house. You're going to have to assign responsibilities to people. Yeah, exactly, Gianni. So we've got available space. Maybe you're in a small house with a large family. It creates a lot of tension. It creates a lot of disagreements and arguments. Excellent one as well. So you've got available space. Then we have deciding who will do chores. It's one of the big ones as well. What about you, Alicia? Any particular sources of contention, arguments, disagreements in families? Maybe you have examples in your family. So Gianni says space, lack of space. Yeah, not enough room to sleep, not enough room to breathe, for privacy. That creates a lot of confusion and disagreements. You've got deciding who will do chores, who will do what. Sometimes people don't do what they have to. People don't pull their weight. Yeah, that creates arguments as well. Anything else you think could be a main source of contention? How about maybe money? A lot of times, money is a main source of contention in the family. Maybe it may be a case where only one family member is working. Maybe they're doing more work than the others. Other people are not, putting the effort in place to find a job. So it really affects the family financially, and the financial troubles, of course, create disagreements and arguments as well. Sometimes even being able to share the payments, the utilities, families deciding who's going to pay this bill, who's going to pay the energy bill, who's going to pay the water, who's going to pay the gas. Sometimes there are arguments about it as well because some family members believe that they shouldn't be paying anything, that they must live free of cost without helping or assisting financially as well. So cool. So Alisa says noises all the time. Yeah, yeah. Even when some of the members need silence. Exactly. So a lot of it has to do with space, your personal space. And personal space also includes noise, silence. You need silence. You need quiet. You need peace. So I agree with you. Noises or a noisy environment creates a level of contention or can be a source of contention with a lot of families, especially living in a very small space as well. Yeah, excellent. So those are some examples of sources of contention, disagreements, and arguments within the family. Let's look at number two. What are the differences between a stereotypical family from your country and an American or British one? What are the differences? So Italy has their stereotypical idea of a family. America and UK, they have their own stereotypical idea of a family. Are there any differences between the Italian version of a stereotypical family and American or British family? Or are they basically the same? I'm asking that question too because I am not very familiar with the family system in Italy um, compared to the American or the British idea of the family. In the Caribbean, our idea of the family is traditionally British, the British form because we were a British colony. So most of our cultural behaviors or traditions or customs are basically partly British. There'll be some African customs, but we don't really lean towards the African customs as much. Just basically the British or the American cultural practices in terms of family. So for family in the US and Britain, of course, you have a mother, a father, and children. That's the typical structure of a family. Of course, sometimes you have a grandmother, grandfather as well. Does it change in Italy? Is it different in Italy? I think maybe it might be similar. I think it might be kind of similar. So it's normally grandmother, grandfather, father, mother, and children. grandchildren. Yeah, I believe it's almost similar. So, Alicia says, we tend to live with our parents as long as possible. Good. So that is an example. That's a difference between the Italian and the American and British form of the family. Normally in Italy, and I've heard about situations, you find that the children try to stay with their parents as long as possible. You find a lot of children, even in their older years, still remain with their parents because, of course, not only do they want the comfort and the security of the home, the original home, and their parents, but of course, they're there to help take care of the parents and, of course, grandparents in those cases sometimes. So, yeah, as one thing I've observed about the family in Italy, that a lot of the children stay at home as long as possible, while in the US and in Britain, the parents tend to want to get rid of the children. So, after college, after university, they leave the house, find their own partner, and they have their own life. But in Italy, I know a lot, especially a lot of men stay at home with their families, especially with their mother, because the men are mother's boys, yeah, or mama's boy. I mean, they love their mother. Their mother will cook for them, take care of them, wash their clothes, everything. It's quite different from the American and the British idea of the stereotypical family. So yeah, you guys stay home as long as possible. Good. In the Caribbean, we normally leave home early as well. For me, in my case, it was different because I stayed at home with my grandmother and I took care of her as well. But at one point, I left home as well. And I rented my own apartment. I wanted my space. I wanted my privacy. But eventually, I went back home to take care of my grandmother in that case. So Lisa says here still the mother is usually the one in charge of the house chores. Yeah, it's true. The mother usually takes care of the household chores and the father usually works, goes to work. Exactly. Things are changing just a little bit, especially in America and Britain and the Caribbean. You find a lot more, as I said before, single parents who have to take care of children and work at the same time. And of course, there's some fathers who stay at home while the mother works. So the idea of that stereotypical family has changed over a period of time, and it's based on the society and the changes around the world in terms of work and what is needed uh, in each country. So it has changed. Each country has um, their own cultural traditions and customs in relation to the family, but a lot of that has changed in the 21st century as well. Excellent, guys. So we looked at a lot of the colloquial expressions. We looked at different situations and when to use them. Of course, we looked at the stereotypical American and British family compared to the Italian, maybe European family as well. It varies quite a bit in some circumstances. So we learned a lot today, and I hope you really enjoyed it. We looked at some vocabulary. We looked at make versus do. Remember, generally, make is used for the creation of something, while do is the action itself, performing an action. In some cases, we use make instead of do because those are the exceptions, and it's something that we usually use in English. Like, for example, make an appointment, making a suggestion. Make is usually used with those particular phrases. Okay, Alicia says these are stereotypes because family dynamics are changing everywhere. Exactly, they're changing. The dynamics are changing. There's still some evidence of the traditional form of the family, but in this generation, it has changed. The idea of family has changed a lot. Excellent, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this masterclass. And of course, stay tuned for many more to come. And I hope you have a wonderful day. We're coming close to the end of the week. It's a shorter week today. And I hope you enjoy your longer weekend coming up. And I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye. See you, Alicia. See you, Yanni. Take care.